Hey LeGrand Alive, this is your weekly Newsish Roundup, brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Grand Run Hospital, Marketplace Family Foods, Valley Realty, and Direct Music Source. You know, sometimes I think LeGrand needs a facelift, and I know I'm not the only one. But good news, one of the things that has been happening around here to improve the look of the town is the construction of a new grocery store building on the corner of 4th and Adams, which is now officially open.
Al Adelsberger, who owns this building and also the one that I have in Joseph, he was looking for a tenant after Blockbuster had moved out, and we decided to start looking into the possibility of putting a store here.
I think what Troy and Al have got going here with this facility, it's you know, we're getting somebody, Al from California is investing in our community.
This store has been into planning and construction process for 5 years. It's not something that we just jumped right into. It's been deliberate.
There's a lot of potential in LeGrand. I think it's untapped because there's a lot to offer here.
I think the reason that I'm so invested in it is watching my dad run a business. Just watching the hard work and dedication that he's put in to making his small businesses succeed has really drove me to want to do the same thing for myself and to also help him in any way that I can, because you know, he's a really hardworking guy, and I'd love to be part of his business.
The one thing that we have over national chains and big box stores is the ability to get to know our customers. That's what drew me back to a small store. I wanted to know my customers' names.
Menu's super unique, and the fact that you can come to the grocery store, sit down, have a meal, and get a pint of beer at the same time, I think that's pretty unique as well. So I think there's a lot of really cool aspects of it that are going to draw people in. I hope to bring like a new experience to LeGrand.
Just with Al's vision, what he had directed them doing, it has just transformed into a gorgeous store, from the stamped ceilings to the corbels, the woodwork, the upstairs deck. There's a lot of the art deco that we've got going on that are other places. I mean, and that's attracting people and drawing them in. The people of LeGrand deserve that opportunity to just taste it and see it. And the people that do come in and see it are falling in love with it.
The design of the decor pack of the store was all part of a vision to, you know, kind of give the customer something else for them to enjoy the shopping experience with. Some great carvings by Steve Armette, and something different that you don't see in any other store. Very happy to be here in LeGrand now, have the doors open and serving the community, and just everything's going great. We're building our business.
So in less fun news, voting day is this week. November 8th is the big day, and one of the big issues on the ballot, for Oregonians at least, is ballot measure 97. In the last couple weeks, Brent has been investigating this issue, talking to knowledgeable people on both sides of the yes and no camps, and has put together a little package presenting both sides of the issue, back and forth, for you to understand just a little bit better than you did before you watched this video.
I'm Brent Clapp, owner and operator of LeGrandAlive.tv. Over the last 2 weeks, I've had the opportunity to spend time talking with both sides of Measure 97. Specifically our local state representative, Greg Barretto, and Shamus Linsky of the Oregon Consumer League. Measure 97 would make corporations who earn more than $25 million a year in sales pay a tax on those gross sales. It's a sales tax in a non-sales tax state that would raise about $6 billion in the next biennium state budget. That's billion with a B. The current amount of money that Oregonians pay in taxes and fees per biennium is about $17 to $20 billion. That's every 2 years and is around $4,000 for every man, woman, child who lives in the state of Oregon. Measure 97 passing would represent about a 25% increase in the revenue of this amount. For those that deal with the yearly shortfall in the areas like education, this additional money gets them pretty excited. This shouldn't be confused with the number 70 billion, which is the total operating budget for the state of Oregon, including federal dollars. But it's not as simple as presented. The disagreements really begin with the philosophy of doing business in the state of Oregon. Now stay with me, this will just take a minute. The yes crowd generally brands big corporations as bad for not paying their fair share, especially compared with other states. And Oregon does have one of the lower corporate tax rates in the country. The passing of 97 is mostly being supported financially by public unions. Unions representing the workers who are being paid by state dollars. 97 passing ultimately means more money for them to do their jobs in serving the public of Oregon. Some argue that passing 97 will fix the shortfall that has affected and will continue to affect our programs such as schools. But saying yes to 97 is not a big win for everyone. Measure 97 could mean a loss in private sector jobs and an increase in union-supported public sector jobs, which not everyone thinks is a good thing. And even though 97 only affects big corporations, many of which are out of state, the products of those big corporations that are brought into Oregon will be taxed, which potentially could would raise the costs of goods and services for every Oregon consumer. The No on 97 camp see Oregon solving its revenue problems by being a more business-friendly state. The No on 97 is being supported by corporations who understandably do not want to increase their cost of doing business. Some of those costs will be passed on to consumers, which will affect us all. But some of the cost increases will be absorbed by corporations because their competitive market will not allow them to raise their prices. And in my opinion, some small businesses will also be caught in that same dilemma. More successful business means more profit, higher individual incomes, and more tax revenue for the state to spend on schools and such. No on 97 folks believe that 97 generally takes us in the wrong direction for the state of Oregon and makes Oregon a less business-friendly state. Now, certainly anyone in Eastern Oregon understands that large corporations are a provider of family wage jobs, which we desperately need. So here's some of the back and the forth on these topics and others between Mr. Barreto and Mr. Linsky.
Tax on sales, not on profit. And so this is a tax that will affect everyone in Oregon, period. They project the LRO, the Legislative Revenue Office, did a research on it, put out a copy of how they said this would affect Oregonians, how it would affect businesses, how it would affect communities. And so they give information to the legislature on both sides, you know, and so what they come up with is the most accurate viewpoint of what these things do. And it's not just this, whatever legislators ask, they will try and come up with that information. So out of this $6 billion, it would be approximately $3 billion a year, and they figured that 66% of that, about 2/3 of that, would be paid by the consumer. The other third would be paid through other states. You know, businesses like this go state to state, so it would be absorbed or picked up from people in other states too.
Okay.
So out of this 2/3, you figure that would be $2 billion a year, divided by the number of people in Oregon, which is about 4 million. You would pay, each person, man, woman, and child, would be paying approximately $500 to $600 a year coming out of,
wow,
in addition, you know, to whatever the cost of living is in Oregon right now.
The Legislative Review Office has said that this measure is going to affect us all about $600 per capita. So, do you agree with that? And okay, and
I don't.
Okay.
So if you look closely at that report, they use the same model they use to forecast, you know, revenue and such, and it didn't have a mechanism for just zeroing in on C corporations that make over 25 million in Oregon sales. So they generalized it across all all companies doing, no matter what their sales are.
Okay.
Now, when you spread something out across all businesses like that, then all of them are being hit equally, and I suppose you could expect to see an increase in costs, but that's not what this measure does. And when we raised this point, the author of that study, Paul Warner, he said in an article in the Salem Statesman Journal, quote, "That's a fair criticism."
Okay, so then what number do you agree with that it will cost per capita in the state of Oregon?
0.
What brings prosperity into a state is product that we generate in the state that goes
Right.
out of the state. So
Right.
agriculture.
That's a win-win.
Agriculture is great because we grow this product, we create jobs through this product, and we sell this product outside the state, and dollars come from outside in here. So it works the same way as a nation. For us, we ship 25% of our product out of the country, and what happens? Other countries send their dollars here because they bought our product, and then it comes into the country, into the state, into the county, into the city, and that's how you generate prosperity. Okay, so Oregon should be looking at this, and they should, what kind of jobs should we be looking for to make us a more prosperous state and to create these jobs? You cannot build an economy on minimum wage jobs. You can't build an economy on service jobs. You have to build an economy on producing a product and shipping it out. The state should be encouraging businesses to come in and to create the jobs, create the higher paying jobs so that we have more taxpayers paying into the system.
Let's start with the fact that Oregon's dead last in corporate taxes. There are a few studies, Ernst & Young, the Anderson Economic Group, both put Oregon in dead last in overall corporate tax burden. And if you look at the history of this, in the mid-1970s, corporations were paying closer to 20 cents on every tax dollar collected. Mm-hmm. Today, that's less than 7 cents. That means that you and I and small businesses are making up that difference.
Okay.
So the tax burden is on us, and that's just not fair. And on top of that, there's not enough revenue, like I said, to fund that quality education model. We're third worst graduation rate in the country. Okay. And there's not enough money to fund the Oregon Health Authority's budget for just maintaining services right now, $1.5 billion in the hole. So it's a good thing because it raises money from those who aren't currently paying their fair share, and it directs it to those 3 areas where we need it most: education, healthcare, and senior services.
There's no one that goes in there and looks and say, I think it would really help this agency to start cutting this down to size to where we become more efficient.
Right.
In manufacturing, the one thing that you look at all the time, is efficiency, because you're competing with other companies out there that are looking at the exact same thing, and they're trying to put out a product that's less expensive, that is better than what you do, that you can sell under them because it's a better product for less money, or at least the value is there. So you're always looking at efficiency. The government never looks at efficiency.
Right.
More revenue, more revenue, more revenue.
It's a scare tactic because they really want to make people second guess whether or not holding these large corporations accountable and directing it towards education and healthcare and senior services is going to be good for them. And all these nonpartisan groups that really care about Oregonians, that work for Oregonians every day, nurses, teachers, the League of Women Voters, the PTA of Oregon, Children First, the Oregon Consumer League, Main Street Alliance, the small businesses. We have close to 90 economists.
Mm-hmm.
They all agree that Measure 97 balances the playing field and raises the necessary revenue we need for these 3 important areas. So to believe the scare tactics of Comcast and Shell Oil or Standard Insurance is just I think it's disingenuous.
It's not a simple issue, and this tax patch could have long-term implications. I'm a small business, Someone who doesn't have a small business can imagine the miscellaneous expenses that come at you every day just so that you have the ability to say, "How can I help you?" to our customers. And I personally resent it when I get a whiff of people proposing ideas that affect my business in a negative way, and I wonder if they've ever tried to operate a for-profit business. It's easy to beat up on big corporations and propose ideas that negatively affect businesses, particularly if you've never been a genuine entrepreneur. On the other hand, I sympathize with teachers that genuinely care and they're trying to do a challenging job with limited resources. I was married to a public school teacher for more than 20 years. I really do get it. That point in my mind was solidified one of the nights of this last week as I met with one of the high school educators to discuss the possibility of getting a broadcasting program off the ground again here in our local high school. They are facing a tight budget every day with staffing needs and resource needs. And I believe in them. And when they talk about being hopeful about this measure passing, it makes me take a second look at both sides. And they have no control over the waste or inefficiencies above them. They're just trying to serve the needs of the kids that are coming through their doors. I think that this is sometimes an argument between big corporations and big unions, neither one of which I really appreciate, and I think they lose sight at times of the little guy. You and I, that's just a thought. I hope you take the time to watch both of the interviews we posted. If not for voting on this issue, so it's just so that you can be more informed about future issues like this, because I'm sure this is not the last time that we'll see something like this to increase the tax revenue in the state of Oregon. I'm Brent Clapp for LeGrandLive.tv. Please take the time to like or share this, and I'd love to hear your comments.
Now, like Brent said, both of those interviews that were in that package can be viewed in full on the LeGrand Alive Facebook page. Anyways, what's going on this week in the Valley? Well, Dracula is showing for another weekend. If you didn't catch it last weekend, it's showing again this Friday and Saturday, November 4th and 5th. Shows are 7 o'clock p.m. on Friday and Saturday, and also there's a late night showing on Saturday at 10:30 p.m. All showings are in the Liberty Theater in LeGrand. Also, just over the hill, another play is showing at the Eastern Oregon Regional Theater in Baker. The Psychic is, according to Go Magazine, a murder mystery of sorts. Tickets are available at Betty's Books on Main Street in Baker City. Also, the holidays are here. There are 2 holiday bazaars going on this weekend, one at Zion Lutheran Church and the other just down the street at First Christian Church, both in LeGrand, both from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday. And last, I've always thought that ballerinas are some of the most beautiful people I've ever seen. The precise control of their bodies, the way they curve and dance and jump, it's just amazing to me. Not something I could do without a lot of practice and stretching. And now, according to Go Magazine, the new photography exhibit, The Ballerina Project, is coming to Cook Memorial Library. The Ballerina Project is pictures of ballerinas at familiar Eastern Oregon locations, and every ballerina featured in this project has some connection to Eastern Oregon. All the photos can be viewed at Cook Memorial Library through January 31st. In sports, the LeGrand Tigers football team beat Malala in an on-your-seat-to-the-end thriller last Friday right here in LeGrand. The team stayed close the entirety of the game, and late in the fourth quarter, the lower-ranked Tigers pulled ahead of the 13th-ranked Indians to win 29-22. The Tigers will head to North Bend to play the number 1 team in Oregon to see if maybe, just maybe, they can continue on in the postseason. We will not, however, be covering this game live on LeGrand Alive like we've covered other games. In other prep football news, Union lost to the Grant Union 18-48 and will play next Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. Imbler beat Enterprise 36-24, and Elgin lost to Sherman 51-0. Ouch. And will play Rosalia this Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. at Rosalia. The Tigers cross-country team also trashed their competition at District this weekend. According to the Observer, all of the Tigers girls finished in the top 6 of the Greater Oregon League, finishing with a team score of 15. The boys finished with a score of 20, also polishing off their tournament and coming away behind Baker, Ontario, and McLaughlin in the state. The cross-country team will travel to Eugene for the state competition this Saturday and try their hand against the best of the best in Oregon. And now, for collegiate sports, here's to the 2 guys who know the who's who and the what's what just up the hill on our friendly Eastern Oregon University campus.
I'm Evan House.
And I'm Chris Duarte of VU Athletics.
This is Around the Mountain in about 90 seconds.
In a doubleheader Saturday, both EOU soccer teams were victorious. The men's soccer team concluded the season with a strong finish, collecting 11 wins and defeating Warner Pacific 4-0. The women's team also came out on top as Warner with a 4-0 triumph. The women's soccer team will travel to Springfield this week to face Northwest in the CCC quarterfinals game at 2 p.m.
The U football team defeated College Idaho 48-14 this past weekend on the road in Caldwell. Calvin Connors returned to kick off 100 yards to tie an NAI record en route to being named Frontier Conference Special Teams Player of the Week. The Mountaineers host their senior day and final home game of the 2016 campaign this Saturday at noon against Rocky Mountain.
The EOU women's wrestling team made strides this weekend, notching victories both against Grays Harbor College and Southwestern Oregon Community College. The men's wrestling team dominated in the LC duels on Saturday in California, defeating Lansing College 42-9 and West Coast College Laymore 42-15.
The Mountaineer volleyball team swept Southern Oregon on Friday, and then Oregon Tech on Saturday helped clinch a third straight CCC title. The returns to Quinn Coliseum to take on Walla Walla in their final home game of the season on Thursday at 5 p.m.
The EOU women's basketball team started the season on the road in back-to-back games against Simpson University. Stormy Van Bell led the way with 18 points and 7 boards in Saturday's 74-61 victory. On Sunday, the Blue and Gold had 4 players scoring double figures, defeating Simpson 68-58.
EOU bounced back from a loss to the Bethesda with an 89-73 win over Trinity Western in the Quinn Classic on Saturday afternoon. Senior Brian McGriff led the way offensively for EOU with 20 points and 13 rebounds.
That's the latest news in EOU athletics. Stay tuned next week as we take you around the mountain in about 90 seconds.
For more information, visit us at www.eusports.com.
And that's your weekly Newsish Roundup. This roundup was brought to you by Grandron Hospital, Marketplace Family Foods, Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Valley Realty, and Direct Music Source. Please like and share this video, and be sure to check out legrandalive.tv for more local content. I'm Will Bowman.